mirrors are filled also. Alan Prost got a needed ride home to the checkered flag, and he promises he will return the favour. Nelson's Brazilian countryman Ayrton Senna, still looking for his first title, wants to go around and around one way or another. So as Nelson Piquet enjoys his point lead, he must be thinking that title points are tight and everybody's here in Hungary. The only World Championship Grand Prix to be held in an Eastern Bloc country, the Grand Prix of Hungary. In this modern facility, a new facility, just 15 kilometers outside of Budapest, the capital of Hungary. Of course, there was a Grand Prix Formula One race way back in 1936, and then in the early 60s, there were touring car championship races in Europe here. But it was only last year that this racetrack was created for Grand Prix racing specifically. Hello, I'm Jackie Stewart. Down there, on Friday morning, a bombshell arrived, because Nelson Piquet announced to the world that he was going to leave the leading Williams-Honda team to join as #1 driver, the Lotus team. In fact, it caused enormous commotion. I can never remember, in my memory, a driver leaving a team, or at least announcing his leave, this early in the season. We had an opportunity to speak to Nelson Piquet and ask why he made the move.
2 years ago, I signed a contract here with Frank. It's supposed to be the first driver, and the thing here not happened. I'm going to propose the Lotus to race there and be the first driver there, and I signed a contract for Lotus next year.
Well, as you can imagine, it is a very big story here. Now, working with us this weekend in ESPN is a man who's no stranger to American television with regards to motorsport, has been with ESPN, but many years ago, the editor of National Speed Sport News, Chris Economaki. Now, Chris, you've got the story on Ayrton Senna.
Well, the question will be asked down the road as to whether Senna was fired by Team Lotus or whether he resigned. He was renegotiating for 1988 and wanted more time to consider. And Camel Team Lotus manager Peter Warr is a doer, the same way he got the Honda engine. He got on a plane and flew to Japan and signed the Honda engine. Peter Warr got on a plane the other night, flew to Monte Carlo and signed Nelson Piquet. And, of course, that raises the question, what will Ayrton Senna do next year? John Bisignano asked him that very question.
So everyone would only consider two teams equally as good or better. That would be McLaren or Williams. Can you let us know anything about your potential of joining one of those two teams?
Well, the only thing I would say that both teams are probably the best ones lately have proved to be, and I'm sure it's going to be one of the two, but I can't comment on that.
Well, of course, what this will do is create a domino effect. If Ayrton Senna joins McLaren, that means that Stefan Johansson is without a job. If he doesn't, who's going to fill the Williams seat? Is that going to go to Berger, who's still apparently loose from his Ferrari contract? Is Nannini going to go there? There's been talk in the pits this weekend about that. All of that and a lot more, and of course we can look forward to hearing more at the Grand Prix of Austria, which ESPN is covering. Now, this weekend, our man in the pits is a man who everybody knows, and that's John Bisignano. Down to you, John.
The Hungaroring is only a year old, but it's considered one of the finest facilities on the Grand Prix Tour. I remember interviewing Bernie Eccleston last year, and I think he summed it all up. The question, how difficult was it to organize a race behind the Iron Curtain? Bernie's answer, it's a hell of a lot easier than trying to do it in New York City. Well, the Hungarians have earned the respect of the Grand Prix fraternity with this excellent facility. And the pit road is one of the nicest ones on the Grand Prix Tour. Now, I'm talking to Lee Gogg, the director of international motorsports for Goodyear, earlier today. He said, John, we really don't know the pit lane story. We're not sure if these cars can go the whole distance on one set of tires, or if those last few laps will maybe be the most exciting of the season when everyone tries to come in for very late rubber. We'll be back with the development of that pit lane story and the entire Grand Prix of Hungary right after these messages.
This pre-race report is being brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? ESPN's coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix is being brought to you by Acura Legend and Integra, exclusively at your Acura dealer. By BF Goodrich PA Radio, we make your car perform. And by Quaker State Motor Oil, new Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. position for this Hungarian Grand Prix is Nigel Mansell, proving that he is number one in the Williams team. Second fastest is Gerhard Berger. It's the first Ferrari on the front row of the starting grid for 2 whole years, and Berger's not well. He's got a virus. He's not feeling good. Third fastest, Nelson Piquet. He wants to do his back-to-back win because, remember, he won in Germany. He's driving the Cannon Williams Honda also. Alain Prost is fourth fastest, driving the Marlboro McLaren with the tag engine. Then fifth fastest on the third row of the grid comes Michele Alboreto, teammate to Berger in the other Ferrari. And then comes Ayrton Senna, who, remember, is going to be leaving this Lotus team. He is sixth fastest. Seventh fastest, Terry Boutsen with the Benetton Ford. Eighth fastest, Stefan Johansson with the Marlboro McLaren again. Then ninth comes the USF&G Aero car of Derek Warwick. 10th fastest, Riccardo Patrese in the Brabham BMW engine. 11th is the American Eddie Cheever. He's in the USF&G Aero also. 12th fastest, on making up the 6th row, is Theo Fabi in the other Benetton Ford. Then comes the Cesares, followed by Streff in the first normally aspirated engine. Philip Alliot, he drives the LaRousse. Then Jonathan Palmer in the Data General car. Come 18th fastest, Nakajima in the Honda. 18th fastest is Capelli. Then comes René Arnoux, Nannini, Cathy, Brundle. Way back in 22nd fastest this time, Christian Danner, Campos. Ghinzani is 25th, and making up the grid is the Frenchman Fabre. Right down there. Now, this course here at Hungary is 2.4 and a little bit of change mile racetrack. Very exciting with a lot of corners. Ayrton Senna took us round this course, and you can see there's a lot of corners, 15 in total. Very twisty, less than 100 miles an hour average almost during the race. Senna exits the pit. You can see him looking in his rear view mirror to see if there's any traffic. A car passes, and he goes into turn one. Very smooth, billiard table surface round here. An opening radius corner that he would take in third gear, getting into fourth gear before turn two, where he would brake heavily. Into third gear again as he goes round, and oops, he hits the curb just a wee bit. The new tyres there, you can see the labels going round on these fresh Goodyears. As he goes into turn three, accelerates a little to another turn four here, very tight, followed immediately by a right-hander. Now he accelerates out of turn five, going right up into fifth gear, very fast indeed before he gets over to the right-hand side of the course for turn six, followed immediately by a right-hander. Turn seven. By now, he's got himself in third gear, accelerating up to fourth gear before he gets to a chicane. This is taken in second gear, very tight, only room for one car, accelerating hard into third gear, stays in third gear for the next left-hander. Then goes into fourth gear, then up to fifth gear as he goes through here. This is a fast part of the racetrack. Driver having to concentrate, can't use the turns as he gets to turn 11, can't use those curves. Into turn 12. Heading now for another important part of the circuit. Gets into turn 13, now down to a place that Ayrton Senna twice went off the racetrack. He spun here. There are a lot of cars have been having trouble. Cheever spun. So did Warwick as he accelerates up. That's the pit lane on the right-hand side. The most important corner on the racetrack, turn 15. You've got to get this clean because they accelerate all the way up the straight, getting up to about 185 miles an hour as they take their pit signals and go round. As we join the cars, joining this warm-up lap here. This is the pace lap here, and the cars are finding them way around here. The racetrack itself, very colourful. It's a natural bowl. It's very easily seen by an enormous crowd. 150,000 people had already paid to get in 3 hours ago. So excellent climate, good conditions. Chris Economaki is, of course, with me in the commentary position. Chris, a good day for racing.
Perfect. We've had the high 70s and hardly any wind blowing, shirt sleeve weather. Everybody seems happy. The track is of interest to me, Jackie. There's no groove out there. There's no rubber laid down. There's very few races held here in Hungary, and drivers have consistently complained last year and throughout practice this week about lack of grip. They say their wheels spin and so forth, and because of that, Goodyear has brought a very tough tire, and Goodyear says that if the drivers handle themselves properly, they'll be able to go the distance without a tire change. Now, all the 8 Grand Prix that have been held, only one has been won by a driver that didn't stop for tires. That was Senna in Detroit. So we may see a non-stop race today.
Well, one thing we have to apologize is for the quality of sound here. We've had our line somehow or other disrupted here with our feed from Budapest. It only happened a few minutes ago, so please excuse us if the quality of your sound is not up to ESPN standards. Keep in mind that Ferrari are still looking for a win after 2 years. They've got Berger in the front row of the grid, and that's a big hope for them. This morning, incidentally, in the untimed factory, Mansell was fastest, Berger was second fastest, and then Alboreto was third fastest, with Prost bringing up the fourth fastest time in unofficial practice this morning.
Mansell won the pole on Friday and was the first man to break 100 miles an hour. Yesterday was Mansell's 33rd birthday, so he gave himself a bit of a birthday present early. In today's and yesterday's practice, the next two drivers, Gerhard Berger and Alain Prost, joined in or Nelson Piquet rather, joined the 100-mile-an-hour club here. And all the rest qualified at less than 100 miles an hour.
Okay, let's go down to John Bisignano on the pits to hear what's new down there. John?
Thank you, Jackie Stewart. Well, everyone has had a pretty good morning. The only person with a slight misfire this morning was Alain Prost. They were working feverishly in the engine bay out on the grid, and when he left for the warm-up lap, it sounded perfectly okay. Also, Martin Brundle with the West DAC speed is in the T car. Everyone else, A-okay.
Okay, John, well, thank you very much. You can see everything's getting underway here. It's 76 laps of racing around this 2.494-mile lap. They're now coming under starters' orders. Remember, all the cars have to come to a complete stop before the red light will go on, and you'll see that coming up in a corner of your screen. Only then are they under starters' orders, and within 10 seconds of that light coming on, the start may be given.
Well, Jackie, you know, unlike the United States, here the driver qualifies and not the car, and Martin Brundle has changed cars at the last moment.
Okay, so we're close to getting under starters' orders. We've got the light up on the left-hand side. They're still to come on. It's a staggered grid. They're not side by side. We wait for the start. Berger sort of jumps to start. That was bad for him. He could be penalized for that. Alain Prost looking for a way through, but my goodness, did Mansell get a good start. Then the other Williams of Piquet tucks in behind him. Then Alboreto gets in behind, and Berger goes right round the outside, as does Alain Prost. There is a move by Berger. He in fact passed Alain Prost and passed also Nelson Piquet. There was a move. That was very clean. It was without complication, no contact in seat that we could see, as they already are well round this racetrack, down at the bottom of the bowl, and it's Nigel Mansell leading this Hungarian Grand Prix, followed by two Ferraris, then Piquet, then Senna, and it looks then that only Alain Prost comes up.
You know, yesterday in practice, Berger stopped out on the course, and practice started. He's been having trouble with the start. There's very little traction on this racetrack and a lot of wheel spin, so I guess this start yesterday helped him to make up for the gap he had right at the early part.
Well, it could be that the officials may give him a penalty of 1 minute for so-called jumping the start, because he did move before the green light came on. Nigel Mansell of England getting around here, leading the pack, getting hard pressed by both the Ferraris, you can see, and then up comes Nelson Piquet, a man who is used to pacing himself a little bit. Then the yellow car, of course, that is the car of Senna. Then comes Prost. Nigel Mansell around this very tricky racetrack. Very few tracks today are as slow as about 100 miles an hour. There's only Monte Carlo and Detroit and in modern Grand Prix racing that gets down to these so-called slow speeds as they come to the final corner. This is the end of lap 1. As he comes through, Nigel Mansell leads with the Ferrari second fastest, and here they come past. So it's Mansell, then it's Berger, then Alboreto, then Piquet, then Senna, then Prost, then Goodson, then Johansson, then Patrese. Warwick comes in, then Eddie Cheever's up there.
Jackie, the crowd here is absolutely wild. I guess they like the Ferraris. The interesting thing about these people, they don't cheer, they applaud, so it's a very quiet crowd, but a very active crowd. In front of our announce position, everybody's standing up, and I guess we'll see them stand up another 75 times before the checkered flag waves.
Well, a lot of people have come down from Russia. It's only about 180 miles to Russia, and there's Nakajima. He looks as if he's in trouble. We don't have a camera on any of the cars this week. We had a temporary power cut there. I don't know whether you're still getting a picture, but we have lost our picture in our commentary positions. So we will continue to look out our window as we have no feed at all. And let us see, just to revise it. Hello, this is Jackie Stewart with Chris Economaki. We're at the Grand Prix of Hungary. Unfortunately, we've lost picture from our monitors. Let me reiterate who is up there. Nigel Mansell is leading. Berger is second fastest. Alboreto is in third fastest. And we'll be right back after this. Grand Prix of Hungary. We do apologize for the loss of picture. There was a sudden cut of power. We lost our picture, as did you. We're still here. Nigel Mansell is still leading. Gerhard Berger is still in second place. Alboreto is third. Piquet is fourth. As they go past them again comes Ayrton Senna. Then Terry Boutsen, who has passed Alain Prost. So the race is on. Boutsen's doing well. And in fact, the two McLarens are racing with each other right now. And it does seem that Alain Prost may be having some problems because his own teammate Stefan Johansson is giving him a hard time.
And that's not supposed to be. The Ferraris are sandwiched by the whoopsie daisy. And here's
that's Philip Alliot, who's gone off the road there. He's spun off. It looks like he's going to get restarted if he's kept the engine going. Yes, in fact, he had it in a gear ready to go. He had dipped his clutch. There's a good saying when you spin off. When in doubt, both feet out. You drop the clutch and you get on the brake.
Well, that shows how good this circuit is. There's room for somebody to make a mistake like that, Jackie, and get back in the race without banging his car against something. But getting back to the race itself, Mansell was a half a second a lap ahead of Berger last time around. Now it's 7/10 of a second, and it looks like Mansell was starting to stretch the advantage right here. Those two Ferraris, third and fourth, and Piquet in fourth. And there's Satoru Nakajima, the first man out of the race. His Camel Lotus went to the pits very early.
So Nakajima is out. The other problem is that Alain Prost is in trouble. That's one of the West cars. That's either Dana or it could be Brundle, who's been having a wretched weekend. Both of those cars been going poorly. Very disappointing, particularly for Martin Brundle. But look, Gerhard Berger is not letting Mansell away at all. Berger is suffering from a virus. He was shivering this morning. They said he had a temperature. He's been feeling wretched all weekend, but it certainly doesn't appear to show, and he's driving right now. That, of course, is Nelson Piquet, the defending champion. He won last time. Back up to the leaders, Nigel Mansell, Gerhard Berger, going well.
This racetrack, as slow as it is quite a tough one to drive, Jackie. I checked it out with the drivers. There's 32 gear changes per lap. That's one on the average of every 3 and a fraction second. So they're really working out there, even though the fact that they're only running 181 miles an hour on the longest straightaway, only 750 feet down the main straightaway, the longest stretch on the racetrack. So it's looked upon, as you said earlier, a slow circuit, but not an easy one.
Well, in fact, Alain Prost, looking for his 28th Grand Prix victory, has already been passed by his own teammate. Stefan Johansson has passed him, so that's a problem for Prost. They are close together, but on that lap there, the lap that we're running on now, Johansson slipped past. Maybe Prost had a little bit of trouble. Maybe he can repass him again. We'll look out for that.
Terry Boutsen has also gotten by there, Jackie, in that V6 Ford, so maybe the Fords are doing very well, but it's obvious that Prost is not on top of them.
Well, it looks like a mechanical thing for him. In the meantime, we saw a flash there of the Williams pit with Frank Williams in his wheelchair looking over this, of course, which has become almost customary this season because the Williams teams have really been doing well. Whether it be Mansell, who's now going past their commentary position, followed by Berger. Let's read them out to you. Then Alboreto, then Piquet, and then a bit of a gap. And before that, look, we're still looking for the man. There's Senna. Then there's Boutsen closing up. Then there's Johansson. Then Prost. And that there, after that, becomes Patrese, then Derek Warwick, then Eddie Cheever, then Discazeri, then Gilles Fabi. As we, of course, look further at our leading group.
The first 9 cars, Jackie, are covered by only 1.5 seconds. So despite the interval you see on the screen, it looks a lot of space out there. From a time standpoint, it's still quite a tight event. Berger is moving up on Mansell now. He is very anxious to do well for Ferrari and for himself. Austria is enjoying Hungary. There are a lot of his fans in the grandstand here, a lot of banners, a lot of Austrian flags, a lot of members of his band. But now he's moving in. He's only about 3 car lengths behind. The problem here, Jackie, is it's very difficult to pass on the track. Driving ability is almost secondary to horsepower. You really have to pass on that long straightaway. Now, whether the Ferrari can outstretch the Honda there, we'll wait and see.
Well, he has to do it on the straight, and I don't think the Ferrari has the horsepower, Chris, that the Honda has. And the other thing is they've got a boost button on the steering wheel where if Mansell thinks that Berger's going for a pass, he can hit the boost button and therefore get a few more horsepower, maybe 50 more horsepower to keep him behind. But look, Berger's exactly in the right place to do the job, and he will draft him along here. Can he get him under braking going into the next right-hander?
1-1. Now, you see on the straightaway, the Honda pulls away. He opened that 1 car length advantage up to 2, but now going in the corner, Berger's braver in turn 1.
Well, not only that, but you can bet your boots, during this race, if he stays that close, he will try to get round Nigel Mansell on the outside of turn 1. This is where Piquet took the lead last year. It is possible because this racetrack is billiard table smooth. Look how close he is here. The other thing to remember is that we were talking to Lee Gogg, as you were, regarding tires. It's important for the drivers to keep their tires for the last 20 laps. So maybe Nigel Mansell is driving intelligently here, just going fast enough to stay ahead while not getting too much temperature onto his tires, therefore hoping to go the whole distance.
But look at the way that the interval is according. Berger's right up on the back of Mansell on part of the course, and then 4 or 5 car lengths back on another course. Obviously, Mansell's car is handling better in certain sections of the course than Berger's, and Berger's conversely in other parts of the course. There's one turn here that is apparently very difficult for Mansell. He was off the road twice during practice, and Berger may be trying to press him into a mistake at that point on the circuit. It's so difficult to pass here. This is the problem. You can sit there for lap after lap after lap and not be able to get around.
And this is the corner that's caused all the trouble. We've had many spins here. Senna went off there, as I said there, when we had the tour of the track, and look how close Berger is now. He's really tucked in. He's going to try and get up the inside. Can he do it? No. Mansell, a craftsman of letting nobody through if it can be avoided, comes up, uses a little bit of curve, gets past his pit there, will be given his signal. I'm looking down to see if they're giving him it. Now watch Berger here. Berger is a very intelligent driver. He's not an old driver, but he is intelligent. He's a tall driver. He's a man, I'd say close to 6 feet tall, which is abnormally tall for a Grand Prix driver. Most of them are shorter. He's a lighter man in weight than that of Nigel Mansell. He's very heavy, very stocky. Alboreto is a very short man. I like to say, like Jim McKay says, that we're men of average height. Well, Alboreto's a man of average height.
You know, Jackie, I was surprised looking over the driver's weight to find that Derek Warwick is the heaviest of all the drivers at only 181 pounds.
Well, Grand Prix drivers historically have been compact people. They're very fit, they train very hard. For some reason, it's more strenuous in a Grand Prix car than it is, for example, in a Kart Indy car. And I think the big stock car drivers have to be big to manage the terrific heats that they have to race under in these southern stock car races. We're at the Grand Prix of Hungary. The racing conditions are beautiful, the crowd is big, and so far, Nigel Mansell is leading this Grand Prix. We'll be right back after this. The capital of Hungary is Budapest, a city of 2.25 million and a country of 11 million inhabitants. The city itself is divided by the river Danube. It was once 2 cities, Buda and the hills of the west bank, Pest and the plains of the east. This is the reconstructed royal palace. The original, which was built over 250 years ago by the kings of Hungary, was almost totally destroyed at the end of the Second World War. The parliament buildings of today are on the east bank, influenced heavily by British architecture. This is the famous Heroes Monument, featuring the 7 great horsemen. The Matthias Church, with its magnificent tiled roof, offers the strong Roman Catholic preference in Hungary. 85% are Catholic. And the main railway station was designed by the same architects who created the Eiffel Tower. The great collection of art in Budapest is housed in this magnificent museum. This is Budapest. I must say that everyone who's come to Budapest has loved the experience. The racing fraternity like it. The people have been very hospitable to us. And this Grand Prix has suddenly developed into a 4-car race. They're very close indeed. Mansell is ahead. But look at Berger right behind him. And then Alboreto's closed up. And then behind that, Nelson Piquet. And they've drawn away over 7 seconds ahead of the next group.
Well, you know, the interesting thing here, Senna's fallen way back, but yet he's turned the fastest lap of the day at 1:35.875. So he's not getting the grip. It's so necessary to perform well here. So the Ferrari, side by side now. Would you say that Alboreto is protecting Berger?
Not at all. I don't think so. I think, in fact, Alboreto is threatening to be passed right now. now by Nelson Piquet. Keep an eye on Piquet, who's very aggressive, and we'll see him in our picture in just a moment. That, of course, is Nigel Mansell. There is Berger. Look how close Piquet is to Alboreto now. He can do Alboreto on the straight. Watch out for it, whether it be now or the next time. He won't do it this time.
Jackie, this is 10 laps into a 76-lap race. I can't remember any Formula One races where you had 4 cars in such close competition for the lead. The 4th car is not even 2 seconds back of the leader.
I think the reason for that is they are conserving tyres. A pit stop at this racetrack for tyres would be too costly. It might only be an 8 or 9 second pit stop for the actual changing of the tyres, Chris, but by the time they slow down and get into the pits and get out again, it could be 25 to 30 seconds. And if that were the case, they could lose the race if the other cars are able to continue without a stop. So I think that all of the drivers have that in mind and are conserving the tyres. However, I do think that Prost has got himself in a major problem because he's way down in 8th position. So Alain Prost, the defending world champion, looking for his 28th Grand Prix victory. That's to beat my record of 27, and he equals that at the present time. We expected him to do well. I chose him as a possible winner, or Mansell to win this race, and I'm afraid he's out of it as we speak now.
Well, it doesn't look good for Prost at the moment. It's interesting to watch Berger. He put the pressure on Mansell. Now he's giving him a breather or taking a breather himself. Maybe that was a little too strenuous for him in his weak and physical condition. They rest up, cool the tires down, and then take another shot on it in a few laps.
Well, John Visignano's down in the pits, and he's got Christian Danner with him. John, are you there?
I am here. Thank you, Jackie. We are here. We have Christian Danner. It's kind of a short Grand Prix for you, Christian. The engine cut dead. I don't know what it is. It's some electrical problem. It's just as if you switch it off and that's it. Out of the German Grand Prix, out of the Grand Prix here in Hungary. It's been a 2 tough weekends for you. Well, we weren't really competitive. I can say that, but it only can get better now, and I'm looking forward to Austria. Good luck. Thank you. Back to you, Jackie.
Jackie, I'm just looking at my chart here. Christian Danner, his 8th start, a 9th start here, and he's only finished 2 races. He's DNF'd in 6 of those events.
Well, that is, of course, a problem for the West team. They have not been as competitive as they would like to be, and Martin Brundle was certainly complaining also. The whole package in motor racing is terribly important. Nigel Mansell, and of course he's leading the race, and he knows what the total package means. So we had the opportunity of having a word with him.
I've raced the engine since it came virtually into Formula One, and I know that the so-called unfair advantage, or what people say with the Honda engine power, is not so. The good example for that is the Lotus team has exactly the same engine, the same power, but they haven't got the Williams car. They haven't got Patrick Head. And, you know, it's a package. Motor racing is a package. It's no good having 1 or 2 of the ingredients. You must need all 4 of them.
Well, the words of Nigel Mansell, and those are the words of wisdom, because it's the truth. You've got to have not only the best engine, the best chassis, the best designer, the best mechanics, and the best tires, but you also have to have a good driver. And Nigel Mansell, this year, I must say, has been driving wonderfully well. If you had said to anybody in the middle of 1985 that Nigel Mansell would be the force that he is today, they would have laughed at you. He then won a Grand Prix at Brands Hatch, the Grand Prix of Europe, and then he won 6 out of the 10 next Grand Prix. And he certainly is showing his strength, and he's pulled away from Gerhard Berger by at least 1.5 seconds right now. Piquet is still behind Alboreto, that's Berger's teammate. Both of the Ferraris sandwiched between both of the Canon Williams Honda.
You know, it's amazing. Mansell's 3rd in the points with 30, behind Piquet with 39 and Senna with 35, and yet he's DNF'd in 2 races. And to be that far up with 2 non-point events is quite remarkable. The car is superb. Nelson Piquet, unbelievable. He has never finished worse than 2nd place this year, and 1 race he DNF'd, and the other race he was not allowed to drive because the doctor said he hit his head too hard in a practice shot, and he's leading the point standings with 39 tallies. Amazing.
Well, let's just look over the situation after 10 laps. We've got Nigel Mansell leading, then Berger, then Alboreto, then Piquet, then Senna in 6th position, Goodson, then Johansson, Prost, Patrese and Warwick. We're in Hungary, and we'll be back. We're back at the Grand Prix of Hungary. Nigel Mansell is leading, but The man who was sitting beside him in second place, you can see the track is empty. While we were in commercial, Gerhard Berger of Austria, driving the Ferrari, rolled to a stop right in front of the pit here. He took off his steering wheel, he kicked the back wheel, he looked down whether it's suspension or whether it's engine, I don't know, and he walked over the pit lane, got over the wall, and that's the end of the day for the Ferrari driven by Gerhard Berger. And you can see perhaps the car, there's the car you just saw, flash of that red car sitting in front of the pit. You can see it on the left-hand side of your corner right now. There it is, Gerhard Berger's car, a morose sight really for the Ferrari lovers, because my goodness are they here in style. So that's the end of that race for him. But Alboreto now, of course, he is in second place. Nelson Piquet, still putting pressure on him, is in third place, driving, of course, the Canon Williams Honda.
Well, Mansell now has a 6-second lead on Alboreto, and is clearly out in front with no problems whatsoever. But here's the battle for second.
And Alboreto went over a curve there, and suddenly Piquet was right on him like a dose of salt there. Alboreto just made a slight error of judgment on hitting an apex. You could have seen the car go up in the air there just a little bit, and there's somebody done it, Prost. And it looked like the other McLaren, Johansson and Prost, both of the cars together. One of them seems to have stalled. In fact, Johansson had stalled. Alain Prost, the intelligent Alain Prost, somehow or other kept his engine running, was able to proceed. Those two drivers were going round side by side, or at least nose to tail. And now, of course, the number 2 driver can't get it going. He's zipping the clutch, but somehow it's not going. That's the pit of Berger. He's sitting down. Remember, he was unwell to begin with. He's being talked to, of course, by the media, and of course there are hordes of them here, and when a Ferrari drops out, there's even more of them. The battle for second place you're looking at right now, that's the red car being driven by Michele Alboreto, the young Italian, and of course in third place, the defending champion right now, as Nigel Mansell starts to get into traffic. He's getting through the slower car.
This is the opportunity that the second and third place I'll be looking for. When a slower car holds up the leader, they'll be able to close the interval to some extent. Piquet is putting the pressure on Alboreto, filling his mirrors up. Notice how much wider Piquet swings than Alboreto swings in some of the turns.
In fact, Piquet has peculiar lines almost in certain corners. We saw the French Grand Prix with Piquet being passed by Nigel Mansell in a place that he looked like he had made a mistake. This time it was Piquet who got on, and one of the Benetton stopped. That looks like, is it Theo Fabi or is it Boots? And it's Theo Fabi. Theo Fabi, who was well down. Theo Fabi was way back there, and however, Boots is still up, doing well. Theo Fabi, the young Italian, somehow or other has never found the key to the door of success.
It's his 6th DNF of the year for Fabi. Can you believe that? He did so well in IndyCar racing, won the pole for the Indy 500, shocked all the American regulars, was well liked out there, and they said it was because he was so light and so small that's why the car went fast. But he was a fine driver in IndyCar racing. And here's the traffic moves over. Gentlemen drivers out there, Jackie.
Well, there's a few of them left, Chris. There is room for gentlemanly behavior and, of course, good manners.
Pascal Fabre there letting Nigel Mansell by.
Now he's going to be faced with shortly a Ferrari coming up. And let me just tell you about something else. Those of you who, of course, are so fond of Grand Prix racing, the World Tour Sweepstakes, the winning slogan for the Australian Grand Prix trip on November the 15th, and of course that race is on November the 15th, the Formula One finale. Let me first of all, before we go to this, John Bisignano's got a story for us, so I'll come back to the sweepstakes. John, are you down there?
Yes, Jackie, I'm right here in the Ferrari pit. It's a sad Ferrari pit at the moment. Gerhard Berger out of this race with a gearbox or drive shaft problem. Gerhard has always been very cooperative with us on interviews and so forth, but the guy is just so ill. He's the color of his jersey. He's almost red and green combination. He's not going to talk to us. He apologizes, but he's just not feeling well enough. I do not think he could have continued and finished this race. He's totally wiped out, Jackie.
You know, Jackie, the car, if there was something wrong with it, you could feel he would have gone in the pits, but that had to have broken after the pit lane and before the starting line, a very short interval.
Probably on the third gear uphill right-hand bend under hard acceleration. If a drive shaft went, that's where it would go. He got out the car, he kicked the left-hand rear wheel, because I think that's probably where the drive shaft went. It would be there. And there in the meantime is Nigel Mansell carting his way around as we'd expect. He's certainly in contention for the World Championship this year, and he wants to make the point.
Now know, this traffic has given Alboreto a bit of a break. He was 5 seconds behind Mansell. Now he's only 2.5 seconds back.
Well, that could be a threat. It could, of course, be that Nigel Mansell is seeing the intelligence of backing off a little bit. He comes over the start-finishing line for yet another lap. We'll be back. Live from the Grand Prix of Hungary. Nigel Mansell is still leading. He had shortened the gap to the second place man down to 2.5 seconds. You can see the Ferrari coming into the left-hand side of your picture. That is not a Ferrari, the blue car behind there. There's a car off the track. So we got a problem there.
17 laps into the race, Jackie. Well along, 27 minutes worth of competition, and Mansell seems very confident. Goes by, he hasn't changed his style. He takes up on the slower cars, and he patiently waits for them to move over. He's not an impulsive man at all in the heavy traffic, it seems. He's doing a very good job. But here comes the Ferrari, closing in more and more. Michele Alboreto, the sole Ferrari survivor, Berger having gone out earlier, passes this machine on the inside and tries to shorten that interval to lead car. Last time by, it was 3.1 seconds. Now, that's 2 seconds he knocked off in that last lap, Jack.
But more important, Piquet has fallen right behind Alboreto. His gap has widened, and he's out of it a little bit. So this race is a bit of a yo-yo. It's going up and down, and these gaps are shortening and lengthening. Anyway, we've got quite a lot to talk about here as well about Grand Prix racing. I just attract you to the Formula One finale. This is regarding the World Tour sweepstakes with the winning slogan for the trip to the Australian Grand Prix, which of course takes place on the 15th of November. To enter the sweepstakes, write the slogan on a card with your name and address and mail it to World Tour Sweepstakes, P.O. Box 911, Ridgely, Maryland. That's Maryland 21683. Two lucky couples will win an all-expenses-paid trip to the Australian Grand Prix, including a week of the festivities surrounding the race. Now, the winning names will be chosen by random drawing, but the entries must be received by 25th September. So get your entries in. It's a wonderful trip. It's a great Grand Prix to go to. Believe me, one of the best, and it could be the clincher for the World Championship. So go into our ESPN sweepstakes and find the formula that you can find for the best winning slogan.
Well, Jackie, once Mansell got in the clear and got rid of some slower cars, he added another second on Michele Alboreto. So this Williams Honda is just right for this racetrack today. Got his left front wheel up on a curb a little bit there. He's a very smooth driver, calm, unfettered kind of guy. Reminds me of a World War II Spitfire pilot. Take things as they come.
You know, Chris, out of a racetrack, out of a race car, he really is calm. But the criticism of Nigel Mansell within the fraternity is that once the visor goes down, sometimes the lights go out. And he gets extremely excited and doesn't drive in the manner that we're seeing him drive in today. I think he's pacing himself very well. He's not trying to rush through the traffic, as I've sometimes seen him. And I think he's driving very intelligently. Of course, maturity comes through experience. And, of course, he's been watching other people do it, people like Frost, and they've done it well.
You know, Jackie, I watched him on the television from the Grand Prix of Great Britain at Silverstone, and I have to say that whether he was excited or not, that come-from-behind drive was something to see. It reminded me of Fangio in the 50s. And speaking of experience, Jackie, you know what experience is?
Tell me, Chris.
Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want.
Well, I've had a lot of that.
Right.
Okay, now let's see. Out of the race, we've got Nakajima, who was the first man out. Then Christian Dana went out. Then, of course, we saw Berger's car parked there. Gerhard Berger from Austria in the Ferrari. He's out. Theo Fabi went out in the Benetton car. And then Stefan Johansson, you saw him having a lot of trouble. It looked to me like the clutch went wrong there, or the transmission went wrong because he could not re-engage gear. That's Terry Boutsen you're looking at right there. He's right up behind Senna. There is a good battle. Now, Terry Boutsen driving the Ford-engine Benetton car, giving the active suspension Lotus with the Honda engine a hard time. This is a slow racetrack, remember, less than 100-mile-an-hour average they're going round at right now, and it's very interesting that the Ford is being competitive with the Honda on this racetrack.
You know, Michael Cronopus, who had Ford Racing United States, is here, as is Walter Hayes, the vice president of Ford, who had brought the company into racing way back in 1967. Now, I'm sure they wouldn't have been here unless they thought that engine was going to do something worth seeing.
Well, it it is a popular racetrack for folks to come to. Somehow or other, the eastern charm of this block of countries over here has attracted a great many people. I saw a whole bunch of people from the United States here who are here with a large Elf fuel company. I see a lot of people from Saab here. There's a lot of Ford people here, and the blue flag is being shown, and that's to one of the Ligiers. That is to René Arnoux. The blue flag is being shown because Senna's closing up on him. René Arnoux, and it's Ginzani, I think. I think it's Ginzani, isn't it? Yep, it's Ginzani who's leading Senna round there. In the meantime, the fastest lap has been posted by Nigel Mansell on lap 20 at a time of 1 minute 32 seconds.
Oh, there'll be some talk after the race about this.
Well, let's see what Senna can do on the straight. There he goes with a Honda Power. Now, can the Ford get past? It can. It stayed with him. It's past the BMW Megatron engine. I think it's pretty amazing. Look at Alan Prost. He's back there. You saw the white and red car right at the tail end of that lot. That is Prost.
Jackie, at lap 21, it's Mansell, Alboreto, Piquet, Senna, Boutsen, and Prost in the points. But Senna's 13 seconds behind Piquet. Way back.
Well, he's certainly lost a big advantage, but I think Boutsen, now if Boutsen keep his calm and keep those tire temperatures down, this could be very good for him, although the car's getting a little loose. There's Alan Prost. Now remember, he had a problem. I don't know whether he completely spun out, but he was having a problem, but he's still in the World Championship point standing. That's what you've got to look for Prost. Even when the car's not going well, he's in with a shout.
Well, I wonder if that little shot with his teammate Stefan Johansson may have dinged up the suspension alignment at all.
No, I think in fact he's got himself back together. At the beginning of the race, he definitely was having trouble. He definitely was slow because he dropped way back and right off the pace. Because remember, he was fourth fastest and he's way back now in sixth position, but he was further back. So somehow or other he's collected himself. But this is the battle of the moment. The other cars have strung themselves out, coming down to the corner now that causes all the trouble. Senna spun there earlier in practice. Now going out of that up into turn 15, as we call it. This is a long 180-degree third-gear corner. Very important because of the straight line speed.
Now you can see, Jackie, that some rubber is getting laid down on the track. The track is changing color in the corners, and the groove is now being established. There, when we saw the course description that Senna was kind enough to do for us just 2 days ago, there was absolutely no rubber shown anywhere. And throughout practice and some of the other local events that have been held on this nice track, no rubber got down. But now today, we're beginning to see a groove beginning to show on this boulevard smooth pavement.
Well, a very good racetrack. You can see very safe from the view, a very big crowd here. They've done a good job in Hungary. It's an excellent Grand Prix track.
One week from today is the Grand Prix of Austria. I think it's a beautiful Grand Prix, the whole World Championship Tour. Certainly one of the fastest tracks, with an average speed of over 160 miles an hour. So 1 week from today at 8:20 Eastern Time, please join us for the Austrian Grand Prix. Jackie Stewart won't be there, but he's still here in the booth.
Okay, John, thank you very much. Yes, I've got a holiday to take, and as Nigel Mansell's having no holiday right now, just getting past Martin Brundle and the Zach Speed West as he comes up behind René Arnoux in the Ligier. That's the blue car just ahead of him. Car behind him is Martin Brundle there. You'll see one of the Minardis is already out. You saw that car parked on the left-hand side. We'll have to check up on who that is. It could be Cathy or it could be Nannini. And there you see Nigel Mansell making his way up to find an appropriate moment to get past a little Frenchman, highly talented ex-Ferrari driver René Arnoux.
If you've ever driven in Paris, Jackie, you know why that Mansell will have trouble getting by.
Well,
and he did it right there.
He in fact waved him by. René put up his arm and waved him by. Very nice, very well managed. He knows, of course, that Nigel Mansell is obviously leading this race because nobody else in a Williams has passed him, nobody else in a Lotus, nobody else in a McLaren, so he's fully aware of what the situation is. Okay, after 20 laps, and we've now completed 24 laps incidentally, let me quickly run down the leaderboard. Mansell, Alboreto, then Piquet, then Senna, then Boutsen. After that comes Prost in 6th place. Patrese is in 7th. Derek Warwick is in 8th. Eddie Cheever, the young American, born in Phoenix, is 9th. And 10th is the Cesare driving the BMW engine Brabham.
Well, you know, in that traffic, again, Alboreto used that to close up. He cut his 5-second intervals at 2.5 seconds. So every time Mansell comes into traffic, Alboreto seems to gain some ground. But then when a clear field faces Mansell, that V6 Honda engine really storms. You know, I took automotive engineering in school, and I grew up, a V6 had to be 60 degrees or 120 degrees, and this is an 80-degree engine. It has a congenital vibration, but it doesn't seem to bother the performance of these racing cars.
Certainly doesn't seem to do that. That was Cathy that he just passed there, car number 21, driving the Osella with the Alfa Romeo engine, so he got through him before he got to the main straight. Looking at his pit board right now, getting a little bit of information. The master of the team, Frank Williams, sitting there in his wheelchair, who's masterminding this Williams team to numerous Grand Prix victories, World Championships of constructors and drivers. Right now, it would please him greatly for Nigel Mansell to be able to take the lead in the World Championship. And, of course, to win the World Championship, if Nigel were to do that as a Brit driving for a British team, even if it has a Japanese engine, would be a great moment for Williams. And the chances are that they will win this year the Constructors' World Championship also. So it could be a real doubleheader.
Well, Jackie, Alain Prost may be out of the picture. He's back in 6th place, but he just turned the fastest lap of the day at 1:33.140, so things must be all right in that car.
Well, Alain Prost, you know, last year when the rubber got down on the racetrack, Chris, Alain Prost was the fastest car and driver combination on the track. So maybe that McLaren needs a little rubber down there. However, Nigel Mansell for the second. Let's talk to Nigel Mansell. We had that opportunity earlier about this Hungarian Grand Prix racetrack.
I wouldn't say it's got a favourite part for me. It's very demanding. You've got about 5 corners linked to one. You get one wrong, you get all the next 4 wrong. I think that's very demanding, and if you get it right, it's probably very satisfying. But the circuit is very difficult, and it is slow.
Well, slow it may be for some, but fast as it is for others, because Nigel Mansell is setting a pace that, frankly, the rest of the field are not really getting any advantage from. He's well in the lead now. Michele Alboreto is getting through some of the traffic, and Nelson Piquet has closed right up in Alboreto. There it is, right there in our picture. He got past Martin Brundle, going round turn 1 there, and the red car in front of him, in fact, was the car of Michele Alboreto. So there is a lot happening.
Well, this should be interesting to watch. We're
back at Mansell now. Look at that. He's got it all to himself. But then in the next group comes another Williams car, and then the red car, you know, is Alboreto. So he's having a real tight race there.
All of a sudden, Alboreto has fallen over 8 seconds behind Mansell and allowed Piquet to close up. And maybe the Ferrari is starting to misbehave.
Well, let's wait to see. The Ferrari's been totally uncompetitive this year so far. They've really been in the doldrums. This is the Lotus pit. Ayrton Senna's left front tyre, you can see there. They're all marked. We've got an American, Kenny, incidentally, changes the front left for Ayrton Senna. He's an American airline steward. Comes from New York City, comes through all the Grand Prix. There's one of the Brabhams, and that's De Cesare in the BMW Brabham having a wheel change, so he's finding the rubber not quite to his liking. We've got no clock on this. Yes, we have. It's up past 8 seconds, 9 seconds. It's a long stop for Grand Prix racing, 10.13 seconds. And there you see the battle for second place. That's the red car in the middle there with Piquet close behind them. Getting past René Arnoux, driving the Ligier car, the blue car with the blue racing colors of France. They'll pass him on the straight. Piquet looking... Oh, look at that. They're not passing him that much. Piquet gets through also.
Oh, Mr. Piquet's in a hurry there.
Left him a little late there.
Alboreto's fallen 12 seconds behind Mansell in this jousting in traffic.
Now it's a question. I don't think Nelson can pass them until they get to the main straight again, because unless Alboreto makes a major error of judgment, this racetrack is very difficult to pass on. John Bisignano, you're down in the pit.
I'm right here, Jackie. I'm with Stefan Johansson. Stefan, no podium for you this weekend. What went wrong? Well, we were fairly well up the pace the whole race. We had very little grit. And when I went into the something just locked in the transmission, and the car I just spun around and unfortunately died, so I couldn't restart, but I think it was something jammed anyway inside. That's the third gearbox to go away in this race. Bobby's out with a gearbox problem. Berger's out with a gearbox problem. And now you. Did you think this was going to be such a gearbox problem circuit? Not really, no. I mean, it hasn't got enough grip, really, to present a gearbox problem. But for my problem, it was a peculiar problem. I mean, it wasn't something very normal, I would say. Thank you, Stephen. You'll get him in Austria. 32 gear changes. Back here, Jackie.
Yes, 32 gear changes. The lap is Mr. Conor Mackey just reminded me, and those 32 gear shifts may well have caused a disarrangement within that gearbox of the Marlboro McLaren. But, you know, we could see that there was a trouble when he was trying to have that car restart. He had dipped the clutch, and of course, the wheels were all locked up. So there is a disarrangement in there that clearly is a problem for him. But look, and there's a problem for Alboreto as Piquet goes through. Alboreto locks up a wheel.
That's right.
But
the left front smoked the tire.
He definitely lost the gear shift or did something wrong coming out of turn 1, because it was in turn 2 that he suddenly was gobbled up.
He fell asleep, Jack.
Well, could easily be, but the young Italian seldom does that. I think you'll find that he will now fall off the pace. I think you'll see Michele Alboreto just steadily drop back now, and Piquet will now have a look at his own teammates.
Now we're going to have to see whether Piquet can cut the interval. Right now, it's about 12 seconds. We'll see what it is as they come by lap after lap. 1-2 for Team Williams. Remarkable. That's the way they finished in England. Something else.
Well, they've been very consistent. The engineering of the Williams team is by far, I think, the best in the business. So, we're in the Grand Prix of Hungary. Racing is still fast and furious. Nigel Mansell is still in the lead. Nelson Piquet is now in second place. We'll be back later.
This Goodyear tire here can do just about anything on a racing track, but when the car is actually stopped and they want to set the vehicle up, they're never used. It's just not accurate enough. They have a steel wheel that is absolutely symmetrical. This is used for setting the car up relative to caster and camber, toe in and toe out. When a driver talks about getting the right combination with the car, this is what he's talking about, putting the whole chassis in tune, the suspension with the tires and the wheels and so forth. To be just a tenth of a degree out at 200 miles an hour can be a very uncomfortable feeling for a driver. So when it comes time for setup, off go the Goodyears and on come the steel wheels.
Okay, so we're back here now live at the Grand Prix of Hungary. We are going to have a little replay of the pass that we had with Nelson Piquet getting into second place with Michele Alboreto, which was quite a fast move. There it is right there. Alboreto came out and suddenly Piquet swerved his pass. You'll see Alboreto. Look at his left front wheel lock up, the right-hand side of your picture. He was taken by surprise, there is no doubt. And Nelson Piquet probably worked on that for a couple of laps before he did it. Now, incidentally, Alain Prost is catching up on Terry Boutsen. That's a story that we've got to look for, because Terry Boutsen's in 5th position. Alain Prost is way back in 9 seconds behind Terry Boutsen, and he's closed up to about 5 seconds. So Prost is getting himself in the groove and perhaps could be doing well. This man is still in the lead. That's Nigel Mansell.
Well, this is a great racing circuit, Jackie. The government of Hungary built this racetrack at a great cost, and are they ever supporting it? We drove in from Vienna, and from about 40 miles out, we saw a sign for the Hungaroring. That's what it's called. And the sign is a racing crash helmet in red, just the word Hungaroring, and then an arrow on which way to go. They give you an indication of how this country of over 10 million people is behind the race. There's only one radio station in all of Hungary, and it's doing a 12-hour broadcast today from this racetrack. There are 12 announcers here. I didn't realize that there's only one radio station in Hungary. There's 3 TV stations, but one radio station. And because of the race, they raised the national speed limit from 100 kilometers an hour to 120 kilometers an hour, and increased it in the cities, too. It's amazing that the support that the government has been giving the races here at the Hungaroring. Everybody seems to be enjoying it. There they are sitting down in this beautiful day in Budapest, Hungary.
Yeah, Chris, they're certainly enthusiastic about the motorsport. One of the biggest fan mail collections that you get each year. Every time I get a stack of mail, a lot of it's from Hungary. In fact, they did raise that speed limit, in fact, in July up to 120 kilometers, which is about 70 miles an hour, and that's what it remains to be today. Now, this could be a very long race. Now, there is a regulation in World Championship Formula 1 racing that a race goes for 2 hours. And this race last year did also go for 2 hours rather than the 76 racing laps that we've got marked in here. So that's something that we can certainly look for. This is the battle here between Ayrton Senna and Terry Boutsen. Boutsen's dropped back just a wee bit. And that's, of course, for 4th and 5th position. So that's a battle that we should keep our eye on. It's surprising to me that Senna's not going just a little bit faster. I expected the active suspension system to be a little better. Keep in mind that he's got the Honda engine, which is by far the most powerful. Honda, of course, they save $50 million a year into their Formula One engine program. That's a lot of money. No other manufacturer is giving it that kind of commitment. Now, Ayrton Senna has chosen, as we said earlier in this program, if you weren't switched in at that time, Senna has just announced that he is leaving the Lotus team, and Nelson Piquet is going to join that Lotus team as #1 driver for 1988. So Senna's car is really not performing to the level that they would like. We're at the Grand Prix of Hungary. The conditions for racing are ideal. Nigel Mansell is leading, Piquet is second, Alboreto is third, Ayrton Senna is fourth, Boutsen is fifth, Alain Prost is sixth. This is Jackie Stewart along with Chris Economaki and John Bisignano at the Grand Prix of Hungary. Let me just tell you about some more motor racing on ESPN and Speed World. We've got NASCAR, Winston Cup, the Budweiser at the Glen. That's today, remember, on ESPN at 12:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. That's live from Watkins Glen, New York. Unique Winston Cup event and one of the most challenging road courses in America. The Glen is, of course, best known for its early beginnings of sports car racing, then to host the Grand Prix of America, since then IMSA competitions. Dale Earnhardt continues to race towards the Winston Cup season championship, having recently won at the Pocono International in the Summer 500. And he's won close to $1 million now, but is followed closely, by the way, by Bill Elliott. Remember, he drives the Thunderbird in both money and points accumulation. And incidentally, for those in the stock car interest, Terry Labonte is on the pole. That's today on ESPN, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time. We're looking at Ayrton Senna. We're not in Watkins Glen. We're not in America. We're in an Eastern Bloc country. We're in Hungary, just 15 kilometers outside of Budapest. Ayrton Senna having a difficult day, really having to work very hard for his money right now. The green car coming into the picture is lying in 5th position because Senna is in 4th, and that car is driven by Terry Boutsen, the Ford-engine Benetton car. The gap has opened up a little bit, so Senna's got a little bit of a breather.
Well, that's right, but Nelson Piquet is on fire. As we approach the halfway mark on the 34th lap, he turned a 1 minute 31 and 7/10 seconds lap for the fastest lap of the race, 97.907 miles an hour. So he's out with his sights set on Nigel Mansell.
Well, I see Mansell still leading the race. Piquet is in 2nd position. Alboreto is 3rd. Ayrton Senna is 4th. Terry Boutsen is 5th. And then, watch for it, even though Alain Prost's car may not be working all that well, Prost is in 6th position. World Championship points, very important to collect.
Well, Mansell's radio must be working because he just now broke that. 1 lap after Piquet did it, Mansell cut a 1:31.585 for the fastest lap of the day, 98.041 miles an hour. And you know, Jackie, that's faster than a lot of the drivers qualified.
Oh, well, yes, of course, but what we're looking for here is, of course, regularity. But I think Piquet obviously wants to get a little closer to Mansell. He's really a bit out of touch right where he is. 13 seconds is just too far behind to really be in there with a shout. Of course, keep in mind, if somebody's tires go slightly off performance, you can lose a couple of seconds a lap on tires without even thinking about it. So the tire factor of how well you use your tires, how cool you keep them, how well you can conserve them for those last 20 laps could win or lose the event. There is Frank Williams, masterminding as ever from his wheelchair. He had a terrible road accident, for those of you who are not aware of it, last year prior to the beginning of the season, almost lost his life, and he's come back and is now very much in charge of this Williams team, and my goodness, how well they're doing. They really are showing the rest of the world what can happen.
absolute total professionalism, Jackie, in every respect.
And, you know, there's a big talk in the pits and paddock this weekend about the driver moves, but there is a suggestion that Honda might leave the Williams team in 1988. They say that they can only service two teams properly. They have committed to servicing Lotus because Nakajima is with Lotus and Piquet is going there to be the #1 driver. But they say that Senna will probably go to McLaren, and if that happens, and they say that that deal's already done, McLaren will have a Honda engine, which would leave potentially the Williams team high and dry. Now, they say they've got a contract with Honda, but they're not sure if Honda realize the contract is as firm as Williams feel it is. So this is going to be a difficult situation. But my goodness, how could they leave a team like Williams that's obviously so superior at this time? The Grand Prix of Holland, a Grand Prix of Hungary being led by Nelson Piquet. We're back in Budapest. ESPN's coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix is brought to you by Mobil 1 Synthetic Motor Oil. Mobil 1 protects your engine better than any conventional motor oil. And that's been pretty much proved right for the moment because Nigel Mansell and Nelson Piquet are both running on Mobil oil. Now, our man in the pit is John Bisignano. He's got something for us down there. So let's lean down to pit lane and John.
Thank you, Jackie. Well, you referred to this circuit as being Bill-Ball smooth, and it is. And also, Krista Connie-Mackey was talking about the fact that it's such a new circuit that the people are trying to have grip into the chassis and just not being able to come up with it. The Goodyear tire here last year had a graining effect. They thought it was too soft. The front of the tire was completely being balled up into little tiny grains, a graining effect. This year, Goodyear came with tougher tires, a little bit harder front top. But the drivers we talked to out of the race say that there is very little grip. Now, one thing you don't want going down this front straightaway and into turn 1, 180 miles an hour, turn to the right, and the car starts to understeer right off the circuit. So at the moment, Goodyear has a problem with the fact that the tire could be a little bit too hard for such a new circuit.
Okay, so thank you, John. The tire business is still very much in the topic here because this race is far from being over, and it rather depends on who's conserved the tires better to see who can do the job. The fastest lap keeps being broken, and the lap record yet hasn't officially been done because I was looking up our record, and Nelson Piquet last year set the fastest lap at 1 minute 31.001. And that, of course, was an average speed of 98.669 miles an hour. I think we're going to see that being broken, but it's taken them a little while to get it done.
He's getting close to Piquet. It's 2 laps after Mansell set the fastest lap. Piquet came back right at the halfway point with a 1:31.55 for 98.078. We're having a seesaw battle here between the Williams teammates for fastest lap honors. Right now, Mansell leads Piquet by over 11 seconds, 11.6 seconds. And Michele Alboreto in car 27, the Ferrari, lies third, and Ayrton Senna in the number 12, the Yellow Lotus, is fourth. Terry Boutsen, the Belgian driver, is fifth in car 20, and the world champion Alain Prost in car number 1 in McLaren lies sixth at this stage of the competition.
And then into seventh stage comes the Patrese and the Brabham, followed by Derek Warwick, who incidentally is suffering from another virus. Berger was suffering from a virus. Derek Warwick had his left eye watering all the time, very swollen up. His sinuses were bad. His stomach was upset. He's driving a very good race. It was a conjunctivitis that he had. And then in ninth position comes Eddie Cheever with the USF&G Aero car. Remember, Cheever was born in Phoenix, Arizona, the only American in this race. And 10th right now, filling up the top 10, Andrea De Cesaris, who was in the pit and then got back out again.
Here's Derek Warwick. We say in the United States when somebody has a cold like that, he has the grip. So Derek Warwick has the grip, but his car doesn't.
I'll leave that one for you, Chris. Well, a busy little traffic jam down there, as we can see, in this very tight little circuit. It's a wonderful bowl. It's an arena that we sit in. Enormous crowds just come out here and sit on the side of the hillside, have a great view of the motor racing. The Hungarian crowd, enthusiastic. They love their racing. They've come out in great numbers for this. Nigel Mansell still leads. We're back back at the Grand Prix of Hungary. While we were in commercial, Nigel Mansell lapped Eddie Cheever in 9th place. John Bigignana had a look at pit stop, what it meant between Indy cars and Formula One cars.
Many races have been won or lost in the pit lane. This weekend we have a chance to make a comparison between Formula One and karts. Upper right, Alain Prost, entering somewhat of a crowded pit lane, trying to find his stopping area, while Roberto Guerrero comes into a sparsely populated pit lane and stops in his area. Now the clock is on. At almost 7 or 8 seconds, Prost is ready to move, and even with a problem, he's out of his stopping area in 9 seconds. Going down the pit lane, exiting there, while the Indianapolis-type car is still taking on fuel and tires. Prost already on the track, while Guerrero is still stopped at 21 seconds. Now let's take a closer look at why the F1 boys are faster in the pit lane. Team McLaren puts 3 men on each corner. The man in the middle, with the air wrench, loosens the nut. The man on the left removes the old tire, and the man on the right puts the new tire on. Now, in kart racing, one person has to do the same job of all those 3 people. Obviously, it's going to take more time. Now, before any tires can be changed, the car has to come off the ground. In Formula One, 2 men are used to physically lift the F1 car into the air. In karts, air jacks come from underneath the chassis. These are activated by one of the 2 fuel men. Fuel is the main difference between the 2 pit stops. In karts, 2 men gravity feed fuel into the car. Fuel has not been allowed in Formula One pits for years. In Formula One, the driver attendant, his sole job is to plug into the driver and attend to his needs. Let's count the number of McLaren personnel used in an F1 pit stop. You have 4 corners of the car with 3 men working on each corner. That brings you up to 12. The driver attendant and the 2 jackmen bring you up to 15. Now, the team manager holds the stop and brake sign for the driver, and the radiator cleaner makes the total 17 people in Formula One for basically what is a tire change. In karts, you have 6 individuals changing 4 tires and adding fuel. 17-6. No wonder the F1 boys are faster.
Well, with that number, the F1 boys can use the car well in the pit without any trouble at all. Now, Nigel Mansell has lapped and got into a situation where he's lapped everybody but the top 7 runners at this time. Alain Prost, the man you're looking at right now, just got out of a picture, and Alboreto's in trouble. Michele Alboreto, who's lying in 3rd place, is in trouble. Let's have a look where he is. That's Nigel Mansell. The leader is still there. Oh, it looks that there's a problem for the crowd. We see them. They know. They've been told by the commentator they're already getting deflated because there's a great movement of Italian sentiment and following who come to this Hungarian Grand Prix. So let's wait and see if he can get it round here. I doubt very much whether he'll complete that lap, and certainly he seems to be way off the pace. So we're looking for our Hungarian cameraman to find Michele Alboreto. The man you're looking at right now is, of course, our leader, Nigel Mansell, car number 5, driving his Canon Williams Honda. He's streaking away from the opposition. A 13-second lead he has over Nelson Piquet. There are the Ferrari mechanics waiting to see if they could come in. The national colours painted on the racetrack to show their driver that it's them that he's... And there he is, he's walking back. So the office is closed, the car is parked, he's walking back up the hill to the pits. He must have stopped It looks like there's one of the Benettons. Yes, in the entrance to turn 2, that is Michele Alboreto, a sad man. He was hoping for a good finish. Now, let's look and see who's leading this race. Nigel Mansell is in 1st position. Nelson Piquet is in 2nd. In 3rd position now is Ayrton Senna from Brazil driving the Camel, and that is a sit-down. There we've got another problem. We've got a lot of fluid being thrown out there. Let's hope the flag marshals are paying attention. That could be oil on the racetrack. Let's see if Nigel Mansell, he could spin out on that oil. Let's see if the oil flag is being shown. Is that going to happen? There's Mansell coming up behind there, and he's cleared. He's gone through. So where were we? Ayrton Senna's in 3rd place. Then Terry Button's into 4th place now. In 5th place brings Alain Prost in 2 points in the World Championship. Remember, that is important for Prost. He's in the chase for the championship. And that brings Riccardo Patrese. As we look at Patrese, Patrese, teammate that's in the pit. You've seen him before. He was up into 9th position, and now he's in the pit. So there's a problem for De Cesaris in the pit, not Patrese. De Cesaris is in the pit, car number 8. So De Cesaris is out of the car.
Those Brabham cars, those knee-high cars that were designed, certainly have had a tough luck situation with the laid-over BMW engine. That BMW engine is doing quite well, and the other cars with the Megaton valve covers on it. The USF&G Arrows cars use that power plant, as do the Ligier, but they're the straight-up engines. The laid-over versions just don't seem to have it. As the race winds down now, Nigel Mansell continues to set a brisk pace and opening up a lead of 9 seconds over Nelson Piquet. There's one of the Arrows going into
that's Eddie Cheever. Eddie Cheever's in the pits getting a wheel change. Eddie Cheever's now. Is John Bisignano down in the pits by any chance? Because he's our man down there. And there's the other one comes in. It looks like Derek Warwick has also come in. A traffic jam in the USF&G pits because Eddie Cheever leaves. Are you down there, John?
Jackie, we are right still here. There's been a little bit of a screw-up on the management here. Both cars coming in on exactly the same lap. It is fast and furious. They were all set up for the Cheever pit. But the second car was totally anticipated. Both tires seem to have a bit of grading on them. We'll have a closer look at them, but right at the moment they had to bring those tires back out of the garage. They were definitely only set up for one pit stop. Both cars coming in at the same time. Down here, we'll have a look at the tires and give you a report back.
It's interesting, Jackie, that the only tire changes have been on the four-cylinder BMW engine cars. You wonder whether the way it treats the track is different than the multi-cylinder cars.
It could be the way it's putting the power on. It maybe comes in a little too abruptly. The BMW, they say, has got a very sudden activity when the power does come in, and it could be that. Of course, a little extra wheel spin gets the temperature of the tire up, and that could make that difference. But the man who is driving most intelligently today, I think, and showing a maturity which I can't remember seeing in Nigel Mansell before, because he hasn't charged past people under lapping situations. And there's Warwick off the track. And Derek Warwick's gone off the track, and he's got a flat tire. He's got a flat tire on his right-hand side. He's very close to the pits, in fact. I think he will make it back before that tire disintegrates. John Bisignano, are you still down in the pits?
We are down here, Jackie. We owe a little bit of apology to the Arrows management. It wasn't their mistake. Look at this hole in the side of this Goodyear tire. I can put my whole hand inside that hole. This is the tire of Derek Warwick. Cheever was set up, and there was no way that Warwick could let the pit know that he was right behind Cheever. Right now, after your report, we had told the team that it might be a problem with Warwick on the circuit, and they're trying to get ready for another stop.
Okay, so I'm glad ESPN's coverage is help to the USF&G Arrow team. Certainly, he is coming back slowly. We can't see him yet approaching pit lane, but he hopefully will make it. It looked like his right rear tire was deflated. He came off on a right-hand bend, and that certainly caused him a little bit of an inconvenience. He was able to continue, and the car was still running.
30 laps to go, and Nigel Mansell shows no sign of slowing down in that car number 5 with a 9 7/10 second lead over his teammate Nelson Piquet, who has cut that down to some extent. It was wider than that, a few laps to go.
And look, we see a very slow Martin Brundle there. He looked like he was going slowly, and another car that has slowed down is that of Alain Prost. We're looking from our commentary position. Not everything do you see in your screen can we see. We see everything around the racetrack, so you're out on some of that stuff, but Prost has certainly slowed down a little. We'll keep you informed on that, and we'll of course be looking for Derek Warwick. We're still looking for him, but he hasn't got back to the pit yet. He has to drive slowly and carefully, because if he drives too quickly, he will damage the tire and potentially the wheel, and after that, if the wheel disintegrates, of course, suspension gets damaged. So he's going to have to drive back intelligently, but they were looking good. So the Grand Prix of Hungary is beginning to hot up to an exciting race. Nigel Mansell still leads. His teammate is in second position.
One heck of a lot of activity down here in the Zach Westbeat pit. They just put the car out. We had a turbocharged fire. It looked like somewhat of a normal pit stop. When Martin Brundle first came in, they changed the tires, then the engine stalled. They went to take the cover off the engine, and everything erupted in flame. No one injured down here. Martin out of the car. Too bad for the Zach Westbeed team. They have had 2 DNFs here. We don't know if they're going to get restarted. They have an awful lot of extinguisher dust on the engine. We'll keep you informed. We're going to swing right around. We have Eddie Cheever back in the aero pit just behind us. Eddie Cheever, the driver from the United States, is actually taking off the nose cone. He has lost the left wing. This is going to be a little bit of a lengthy stop. They are screwing that nose on as quickly as possible. Number 18 nose has been replaced. You can see Eddie Cheever's frustration putting it in first gear.
Okay, so Eddie Cheever gets back in the race. It does also seem that Warwick, who we thought for sure had a right rear tire go down. In fact, he's gone past the pits on that lap without any trouble at all. It would seem, where I could have sworn, and everyone in our coming position seems to see that right rear tire down, but it may have been a vision from somewhere else. But Nigel Mansell, incidentally, has just done the fastest lap again, I see, Chris.
Oh, yeah, on the lap 49. We're in the 50th lap now with a 131.347 for 98.296 miles an hour to take the honors away from his teammate, Nelson Piquet. Way back in 9th, 10th, and 11th positions is a race for the normally aspirated cars. These are cars that do not have turbocharged engines. They sort of breathe normally, and that's why they're called normally aspirated. Each of them uses a Ford Cosworth engine. Philippe Streff of France is ninth, leading that particular battle. Jonathan Palmer of England, a newly married doctor, is right behind him. And then Ivan Capelli, the young Italian, is third. All 3 of those cars are using the same engines. You hear the term normally aspirated a lot. It means non-turbocharged. And there's a trophy for the makers of the cars and a trophy for the drivers as well, who do the best. And these cars have substantially less horsepower than the turbocharged cars, and they're not expected to win. However, Formula One racing will eliminate the turbocharged cars after next season. They're going to hobble the turbochargers next year by cutting the amount of boost pressure they can use, and a lot of the companies are designing new normally aspirated engines, and this is consensus of opinion that next year we're going to see a mix of winning cars, some with turbos and some without.
Well, the Honda Motor Company have decided to go with turbos again for 1988. Although they've designed a normally aspirated engine, they say it's a V10. Can you believe that? A V10 for 1989. And that is rumored also that Renault are designing a V10 also. And of course, Ford Motor Company have got a normally aspirated engine, a new engine coming along to replace their turbo one, the one that right now in Terry Goodson's car is lying in 4th position. So there's a lot of development going in, and normally breathing engines are coming back to Grand Prix racing.
The Ford engine, Jackie, where I was told yesterday by officials that it's going to be an incremental engine. When I asked whether it's going to be a V8 or a V6 or a V12, they said it's going to be an incremental engine, and it can be anything. Uh-oh, here's trouble on the circuit with front suspension and a flat tire. It looks like Philippe Ayot in the Cal-Mel's Lola parking the car. His steering wheel comes off, and his day is done with the left front wing pointed upward, so he had an involvement with something
or somebody, but certainly he's got it, and there the rescue crew have come around. They're dealing with things. Now, our man in the pit's got more news for us, John Bisignano.
Thanks, Jackie. We're with Martin Brundle down here. We had a bit of an exciting pit stop. What went wrong, Martin?
We had a turbo failure. I suspected that on the track. I was checking carefully to make sure I wasn't leaving any oil, and made my way back to the pits just in case they can do something about it. Sometimes it can just be a flange or something like that, but in fact it was a turbo problem. And as soon, of course, as they took the engine cover off, it lets oxygen to the turbo and it catches fire.
You went out in the T car. That must be a bit difficult to go out in a T car like that. How much difference is it between your race car that you've had set up all weekend and to jump in the T car right before the start?
Absolutely none, because I made sure this morning that my T car was set up exactly like my race car, because I was expecting problems after so many electrical problems yesterday.
Thank you, Martin. Best of luck in Austria 1 week.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Both Zach Westbeed cars out of the Austrian Grand Prix, out of the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Okay, so we're here again. Racing still going on. The top runners, Mansell, Piquet, Senna, Butz, and then Frost in 5th position. Petresi in 6th, Warwick, Palmer, Streff, and Nannini. We're back at the Grand Prix of Hungary. The car you're looking at right now is that of Nigel Mansell, the leader. But Nelson Piquet is putting on the heat. He was 13 seconds behind. He's up to now less than 6 seconds behind Nigel Mansell. So those two speedmates, who in fact have not got on too well together recently, particularly recently, are maybe in contention for this motor race. So don't go away. Don't change the channel. You could see something big coming along. Now, coming big onto ESPN is, of course, the NFL on ESPN, starting Sunday, 16th of August, and there you see a very relaxed mechanic in the Lotus pit at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, live. ESPN is the exclusive cable home of the National Football League. ESPN's coverage begins with 4 preseason games and continues with 8 regular season matchups, plus the Pro Bowl. Everybody agrees it's a fantastic schedule. So let's have a look at the schedule. The preseason game, Sunday the 16th of August, Chicago Bears play the Miami Dolphins. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern live. Now, all of these games are at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then, on the 23rd of August, Sunday, Los Angeles Rams to the San Diego Chargers. That's again at 8 p.m. Then, on the 30th of August, Los Angeles against the Cowboys. The September 3rd game is the Vikings versus the Broncos. Now, the regular season games, by the way, Sunday the 8th of November, the Patriots versus the Giants. Remember, again at 8 p.m. live at Eastern Time. Then 15th November, the Raiders versus the Chargers. On the 22nd of November, the Dolphins are against the Cowboys. So that's a great season coming up. Our ESPN announcers is Mike Patrick, Roy Firestone, and Ali Sherman. So join us for NFL. Chris Economaki.
Okay, well, Nigel Mansell is being closed on by Nelson Piquet. The interval between first and second is now less than 7 seconds in the normally aspirated battle. 9th and 10th, 8th and 9th places. Jonathan Palmer lies 8th, and Philippe Streff of France lies 9th. These normally aspirated cars, they may not be so fast, but they are certainly reliable, and they're going to be around with a checkered flag waves. But right now, Nelson Piquet is starting to close the gap on Nigel Mansell.
Well, it may be that it was traffic, because it was down to 6 seconds, or just below 6, then it's opened up to more than 7 now, Chris. So I rather feel that Mansell is being uncharacteristically careful in traffic, because as we can remember on our ESPN coverage, he had a coming together with Ayrton Senna, the Belgian Grand Prix. He took both of them off the racetrack and, of course, caused a great kerfuffle afterwards by actually striking the Brazilian in the pit. Nigel Mansell is cool since then. Nelson Piquet is not cool. He wants to do well. He would love to win this race. Remember, if he were to win this race, it would be a back-to-back victory, because he won the German Grand Prix, and, of course, it would extend his lead in the World Championship.
That's all what it's all about, is the World Championship. Right now, Mansell has 33 points. 6 would give him 39. Piquet would tie him with Piquet for the World Championship lead if they finished right now the way they're running. Senna would get 4 points for third. That would give him 31, and he's going to have to go some before the season is out if he wants to win that number 1 for next year. But right now, we could have a tie for the World Championship at the end of the day, Jackie.
Right there, of course, Nelson Piquet would have to drop out altogether before the Mansell situation would allow a tie, because, of course, there's 9 points for World Championship victory, 6, that's to say, a Grand Prix victory, 6 points for second, 4 points for third, 3 points for fourth, 2 points for fifth, and 1 point for sixth position.
But before the season is over, you have to throw away some of your points. Mansell, incidentally, on lap 55 has stopped the clocks at 1 minute 31.315 seconds for a new fastest lap, 98.331 miles an hour. But again, it's a seesaw fastest lap battle between Nigel Mansell and his departing teammate Nelson Piquet.
It is interesting also, Chris, that they have not yet beat the fastest lap that was achieved last year in this same Grand Prix. Different tires, different weather, although it was much warmer last year, and you see one of the normally aspirated engines there being about to be lapped there by Nigel Mansell.
Don't forget, last year Goodyear had competition from Pirelli. This year Goodyear has the entire field to itself, and they can bring whatever tire they want, and they bought tires that they felt were more reliable. Speed is not really of consequence to Goodyear, and they're showing reliability. We've had very few pit stops for tire changes.
Well, it's been very well controlled, and this is one of the slower parts of the racetrack you're looking at right now. Nigel Mansell taking a lot of care and a lot of attention. He's not really making up a lot of ground there. That looks like Jonathan Palmer. He's following right there. It's a normally aspirated engine, the white car, the Courtaulds car. It does look like Jonathan Palmer. They've done well, the Tyrrell team. Data General and Courtauld sponsoring them. They've been in the World Championship points in Germany, which of course ESPN covered. And look how patient Nigel Mansell has been. I dare say now the gap will have narrowed between Nigel Mansell and Piquet because he just chose to follow, in fact, the pace of the Tyrrell car round, I would say, about 8 corners. And that was Jonathan Palmer he was behind. So he just gave it a nice slow time. And in fact, I'm looking for Piquet and I can't see him right now. The gap is what?
9.8 seconds
really
of vehicle now.
He's really extended that factor. So Nelson Piquet has dropped behind Nigel Mansell, and I guess that it's traffic that we've seen that does it.
Well, I guess when Mansell is advised over the radio that Piquet has set the fastest lap, Nigel just goes out and takes it back again.
It's a psychological thing too, Chris. You know, when a driver thinks that he can do something, that is a time when he will have a lot of spirit. So I think that's what's happening right now. Nigel Mansell's not allowing Piquet to have that spirit come up. One man that's got a lot of spirit and an awful lot of knowledge is Lee Gogg. Right now, John Bisignano's down in the pits with Lee. Are you there, John?
Yes, Jackie, we are here. Lee, we had a great conversation yesterday about were these cars going to be able to go the distance without a pit stop. What's your decision now?
We've checked some wear lately, and it's just a little bit more than we expected. But I don't think either one of these two leading drivers dare come in right now. They would have an advantage, but there's not enough time left to use it. So I think they have to stay out.
We've got 20 laps left. Is anyone diving in here for fresh rubber?
No, I don't, because it's so hard to pass. Even if the tires are a lot better, they may not be able to use that advantage. So I expect them to stay out.
Thank you, Lee. The only other question down here is how much fuel is left in those cars. We'll get some information for you on the consumption of fuel.
Well, that's the question. Jackie, now that there's some rubber on the asphalt and a groove, a tacky groove there, does that make passing any easier?
Not really, because in fact it can also make it more difficult, Chris, because out of the groove it is very slippery. This is a fresh racetrack. There's been a lot of rain here in Budapest, and keep in mind it's not like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway or a lot of very sophisticated racetracks that have vacuum cleaners and sucking devices to take the dirt off the racetrack. Here it's another matter altogether. So we've got Ayrton Senna and the Sergeant of Assangnes there right now. He right now is in third position. We're at the Grand Prix of Hungary. This is Jackie Stewart along with Chris Economaki and John Bisignano at the Grand Prix of Hungary. While we were away at commercial right now, nothing changed for this man and the first three, but into fourth place it would seem goes Alain Prost. It seems that Terry Bootson's car suddenly slowed as it passed our commentary position, and I think by the time they come round this lap, I think Terry Bootson is going to be in fifth position if he makes it at all. I was just about to tell everybody that it was Honda, Ford, when suddenly Terry Bootson's car went much slower. So Terry Bootson, a young Belgian who has been securely in fourth position, in fact was challenging Ayrton Senna, has suddenly run into trouble.
Well, you know, the season so far has seen the Honda engine win 6 times and that TAG V6 made by Porsche win twice. And it looks like Honda's going to get win number 7 on the year. That power plant has certainly been the dominant one, and it's no wonder. If you mentioned earlier, Jackie, they spent $50 million involving themselves in Formula One. They're comparing way back to 1967 when Ford brought out the DFE engine and then went on to win at Le Mans. They bemoaned the fact that people in racing said, well, Ford bought these races. But nobody's saying anything about Honda spending $50 million a year on racing. And if anybody's buying races, I would think it's Honda with 20-some men here from Japan. They concern themselves exclusively with the engine. They hardly talk with the chassis people. They have computers and they have spare parts and machine shops, and all they're concerned with is the power plant. It's really amazing. There's 2 separate entities down there in those garages for the cars that have Honda engines.
Well, I do believe one of the big points in that is that when Ford Motor Company went into Grand Prix racing, here in Europe particularly, if you couldn't afford to buy anything else, you bought a Ford. After they had beaten names like the DRM team and the the Ferrari team and also Matra and big names like that, they suddenly became a prestige car. They suddenly became a car that if you bought a Ford, you knew something because it had that social acceptance. I think Honda are buying that social acceptance by competing in Grand Prix racing, being seen to be in the leading edge of technology, and frankly, I think they're doing a very good job at it. I think they're buying their way in, but they're buying their way in intelligently, and it's certainly right now they're in first, second, and third place. Terry Boutsen, incidentally, is now dropped behind this man, Alain Prost, who now finds himself in fourth position behind Ayrton Senna, not in contention right now with Ayrton Senna, but who knows, by the end of the race this could happen. And keep in mind that Alain Prost, the reigning world champion, has to collect world championship points. He's driving hard right now. Boutsen's obviously in trouble. He's still on the racetrack, but he's no longer charging.
You can see Prost is really going, and here's, down in the pits, here's John Visignano.
Yes, we're down here in the Ligier pit. Rene Arnoux, the Frenchman, has come in a little bit slowly. There's not a great amount of panic down here. They're taking off the engine cover. That is the four-cylinder Megatron engine. Arnoux undone his seatbelt and is getting out of the car. The little Frenchman who lives in San Marino, looks like his race day is over. Back to you, Jackie.
Well, thank you. We can see that as we go back again to the picture of Alain Prost, who's now the focus of attention by Hungarian television here. They realize that the man's got himself into fourth position. Well, we were away also. Nigel Mansell clocked a new fastest lap of just over 1 minute 30 seconds around this racetrack. That would give him a faster lap than has been achieved last year, actually, I think, by achieving a new lap record. So that'll be interesting. He's certainly broken the lap record. He's now over, I think he's up into 99 miles an hour average. He only seems to do it when he has to tell Piquet, hey, pay attention, I'm still the boss.
Of course, that situation won't prevail next year, and it'll be interesting to see who the second driver on the Williams team will be come 1988. Nigel Mansell obviously will get undisputed #1 status on that team.
Unless Ayrton Senna goes to Williams, and that yet is still not decided. The big bet is that he's going to go to McLaren, but it is possible that he will go over to the Williams team, therefore ensuring Williams of a Honda engine. Let's go through the top 10. Mansell, Piquet, Senna. That's the top 3. These are the people that we should be looking at. And let's just see what's happening with Prost right now.
Prost is 13 seconds behind Senna. It'll be interesting to see if he can reduce that interval as this race winds down.
Well, that, of course, he's very good at, and if he has conserved those tires, he can go very smoothly indeed. So Piquet has now done a faster lap, 1 minute 30.715, which takes him round to a speed of, 98.981. He hasn't quite broken into the 99 mile an hour average speed. So Derek Warwick, incidentally, is still out in this racetrack. He's running in 7th position. We called badly, and I take the blame for that because I swore I saw a flat right rear in Warwick's USF&G Aero car, but it can't be the case. So therefore, it's just a question of what's happening there. One of the big questions, of course, has been how much drivers get and how much those moves have meant to each of those drivers. Nelson Piquet certainly will have had a driver salary raise by going over to Lotus. So I think that's something that might be up on about, I would say he would be earning no less than $5 million from this move.
You really think the salaries are that high, Jackie, for one season?
Oh, they are. Yes, it's a 16-race series, but there's a lot of competition for about 3 or 4 men. Ayrton Senna was supposed to be getting the highest salary of all. Alain Prost, I think, now will be in the $6 million mark, and I think Piquet will certainly be up to $5 million going over to drive the Camel-sponsored Lotus car. I think they had to pay that to get a grade A driver, and there's only 2 or 3 of them in the business.
Well, it's interesting because they said that Honda pays the salaries of the Williams drivers and that the cigarette companies, Marlboro and Camel, pay the salaries of the drivers who drive their cars. So the car owners sort of out of the salary negotiating situation.
But, of course, they carry a lot of sponsorship decals on their uniforms, and nowadays those uniform markings go for very large sums of money, both on the helmet and on the uniform itself. Let me go through that top 10 because I did promise you that. So Mansell is first, Piquet is second, third is Senna, fourth is Prost, fifth is still Terry Boutsen, but at a reduced rate. Patrese is sixth, Derek Warwick is seventh. Then in Jonathan Palmer, the normally aspirated Ford power unit in the Data General Courtaulds Tyrrell is eighth. Then comes his own teammate, that is Streff, the Frenchman, in ninth position, and Nannini is up to 10th position. He's been around there as Boutsen gets lapped by Nigel Mansell. So Boutsen is down a lap there very easily.
Well, Jackie, Nelson Piquet has just stopped the clock at a new fastest lap for the race, a minute 30.149. That brings his lap speed up to 99.602 miles an hour. Has it ever been, under normal weather conditions, that the fastest lap in a race has outsped the top qualifier?
Not that I can remember, but that wouldn't be the case here either, because keep in mind in top qualifying they were down to 1 minute 28 seconds. So I think we can look for that. Terry Boutsen, incidentally, has been going very slowly indeed, has really slowed down. I just hope he can complete the distance here in this race. So we're looking for Terry Boutsen to make the distance. And of course we're at the Grand Prix of Hungary. An enormous crowd has come here. We've got certainly a lot more than 150,000 people in attendance. They've been watching a very slow race of pace. Well, as Nigel Mansell continues in his merry way, followed by his own teammate Nelson Piquet driving another Canon Williams Honda, we look forward, of course, to continuing coverage of Grand Prix racing by ESPN. The Grand Prix of Austria will take place next Sunday, August 16th, 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:20 Pacific Time. You're going to have to get up early in the West Coast. It's from Zelltwagen, Austria, a beautiful part of the world. Defending champion Alain Prost is going for his third consecutive Austrian Grand Prix. He loves the circuit. The car suits the circuit. He could win his 28th right there. I don't think he's going to win today. Nelson Piquet now leads the World Championship as of this race, so that's to say as of after the Grand Prix of Germany, but not including the points in this particular race. The circuit, a very high-speed circuit with high-speed corners. It's the second fastest track in the World Championship Series, but I think it's probably the most scenic of all of the Grand Prix, and we'll be bringing you that here on ESPN. Nigel Mansell, still going on. Chris, yes.
Jackie, our sage of the statistics, Nigel Roebuck of Autosport, said that in the Monte Carlo race of 1978, Niki Lauda set the fastest lap. It was faster than the pole-winning time.
Well, that can happen in Monte Carlo, where the groove gets set down, because in Monte Carlo it's a road circuit that's used by trucks, trolley cars, and everything else. So that certainly happened, and Nigel Roebuck, of course, is a walking encyclopedia when it comes to that. Not only does he feed us information from time to time, but he keeps our lap chart here at all of these Grand Prix that we at ESPN cover. We've got 10 laps to go in this race, and let me remind you that we do apologize for any reduction in normal quality of our audio here from Hungary. Most of our lines went down. The Hungarian telecommunications people, the satellite didn't work correctly, so I do hope that you can hear some of this commentary, and I hope the quality is not too bad. It's not ESPN's fault. I fear it is the country, our host country here, who has not been able to provide the quality expected. So we're still continuing this Grand Prix of Hungary. It looks like it's going to be about a 2-hour race. We've still got about 14 minutes in hand for that to happen. But Nigel Mansell obviously is counting the laps to go. Less than 10 laps for him. Nigel Mansell driving very maturely, Chris, I would say.
Doing a perfect job. You mentioned the 2 hours. I wonder if our listeners know, Jackie, that the Formula One regulations say that a race must be held within 2 hours, which is why last year's Hungarian Grand Prix was brought to a stop 1 lap short of its scheduled distance, because the 2-hour time limit would have been exceeded. So it looks like they've scheduled it just right. The halfway point was 59 minutes and change. So the pace of the second half would have to match that of the first half to get this in under 2 hours.
Well, it'll be tight. Nigel Mansell looking for a victory here and looking for a part of the prize fund. It's a $1.3 million fund. He will not win $1.3 million, but he will be looking for a good large part of that. That's his teammate Nelson Piquet going round turn 1, braking heavily for turn 2, slipping it into third gear. accelerating now, still holding it in third gear for the next right-hander. Sharp corner again, accelerating again for a left-hand bend now that he takes, followed immediately by a right-hander. Quite a difficult little circuit this. And then he goes up to a much faster part of the racetrack. Gets up to fourth gear for that left-hander, which is fourth gear corner, followed by the right-hander, third gear. 23 gear changes a lap for him round here in the Cannon Williams Honda.
You know, Jack, when you think about 23 gear changes a lap, 76 laps, the number of gear changes is in the thousands before the day is out for the driver, and just not one missed shift ever takes place along the top drive.
Well, I'd like to tell you that was true, Chris. Being a driver myself, now that I can easily say it without the fear of the team manager hitting me, I missed a few in my day.
Did you really, Jack? Well,
of course, it was
certainly kept it quiet.
Well, certainly from the press and the television commentators I did. But no, of course, Alain Prost, there's a man who does drive with consistency. I remember when he won his last Monaco Grand Prix, I think it was the year before last, he said that it was his most perfect race. He never missed one gear change in that entire race. Now, I've done that a few times, but certainly that is something that you've got to avoid. You can definitely damage an engine by missing an engine. Yeah. Alain Prost, gear changing perfection, driving perfection, the best in the world in my opinion right now. This is Jackie Stewart and Chris Economaki in the commentary position. We're looking at Alain Prost, who does seem to be in trouble. There's a possibility Alain Prost will come into the pits. His crew are waiting in attendance. John Bizignano's down in the pits. Do you have anything on that, John?
Well, we're in the fourth management team pit here. We have the team manager, Peter Collins. Peter, Boots been running well up into the first 6 places, and now he's slowed. Do you know what the problem is with the car?
Yes, the onboard telemetry system tells us that we've lost boost on the left-hand side. So we're effectively only running with the right-hand boost operating. So we're running at very reduced power, and we've got such an advantage over the 6-place car. We're just trying to keep going at the moment.
If you lose one turbocharger like that, exactly how much horsepower will you? That Ford puts out about 700 race horsepower. How much is he running with now? Now, we promised you earlier a little bit of information about the fuel of these cars. I went to Lotus, I went to McLaren, and I went to Williams. One team manager said, what do you think of this on NASCAR? We're not going to give you information like that, but they felt confident that they could go the distance. We don't have any exact figures, but right now there are no fuel problems with the front runners.
Well, they are very tight with their information. The Formula One guys have never been very easy to give away their so-called secrets.
Jackie, do you think they know how much fuel is in the car?
Oh, yes, they do, because there's a computer readout in all of the dashboards. And by the way, wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. I just saw him. Look, he's running out of gas. We've been talking about gas, and the leader, Nigel Mansell, is slurping the fuel back and forward to try and pick up gas. Nigel Mansell has lost the Grand Prix of Hungary. He's coming to a stop. That means Nelson Piquet, will he have enough gas in? It's the same power plant, and therefore, will Ayrton Senna have enough gas? Because he's in a Honda, too.
Right, were all those fastest laps worth it?
Well, I said to you, Chris, to tell our audience not to switch off, because things can happen. You've got it. We're live. We're at ESPN. We're at the Grand Prix of Hungary. Nigel Mansell has led this race.
6 laps to go.
From the
everybody could run out.
Well, maybe not everybody, but certainly it's a real problem for the Honda engines, because unless the management system's been going wrong, and there's a readout on that dashboard which tells him how many laps he can go on fuel, how many liters are left, he's probably been telling the Williams pit. They're watching on television. There is Piquet, his own teammate, coming round to look as if he can now take the lead. This is the final corner. He's coming round here now. There's the Williams team, the denim identification, one of the co-sponsors, and there comes Nelson Piquet. Now, the radio will tell him he's off. The crowd are standing for him. You know, they're very fickle, these spectators. 1 minute they're cheering Nigel Mansell for leading. The next minute they're cheering Piquet up because he's now the new leader. The king dies. God save the king.
Well, that's truly amazing. With 5 laps to go now, Nelson Piquet is sitting out in front. in car number 6, and he is obviously concerned about his particular fuel supply, because running out on the last lap you might expect, but with 6 laps to go.
Now, how many seconds does he have on Ayrton Senna, who now puts himself into second position? He has a giant amount of time, because Senna is only passing now. He's got 43 seconds, nearly 44 seconds of lead with not many laps. There's only 5 laps to go in this race. So really you will see Nelson Piquet driving round with the economy performance like he's never used before. There's no point in having to rush it with that amount of time in hand. And of course this man can't afford to rush in his yellow car because he's got to watch his fuel consumption. You could see a normally aspirated engine here coming right in and finishing in the first 3. Somebody else just ran out of gas. Alain Prost went past our position here. You're not seeing him on the camera or in our TV set, but he burbled. He cut out. The engine failed him. I think he's run out of gas.
Unbelievable. Well, it's going to be a survival of the economists here. And there's Piquet knocking off another lap.
We're going to
I would think with the situation the way it's being, why doesn't he come in? Well,
you can't add fuel.
You can't add fuel. I know I was thinking of a stateside race. You can get a splash and keep going.
There's Mansell walking back a deject. He's a very emotional man, Nigel Mansell. I just think he is totally upset by this. Now we've got a replay coming up of Nigel Mansell actually finding the engine running dry, and he did it here in one of these slow corners. Look, the car goes around, it gets loose.
Jackie, the rear suspension's bad in the car.
Well,
the rear suspension.
I'm not sure. I'm not at all sure. It could be the car got loose as he went round there, but that could... Oh, look, I think you're right.
It is the rear suspension. It's not fuel.
Yep, it is loose. You're right, Chris. It looks to me, we thought he had run out for fuel because he had done his weaving job. Well, let's take the pressure off the fuel for a moment, but recognize that Alain Prost went past with his engine missing, and there, a dejected Nigel Mansell. I told you he's emotional. He's certainly showing it there.
Yeah, that was a right rear suspension problem. Something let go on the car. Perhaps an upright broke or something. We saw it on the replay.
Could be a top link. It looked like one of the top links may have broken and was allowing the top end of that wheel to fall inward. However, Piquet probably doesn't know the reason for the failure.
And that's obviously true. And let's see now. Okay. Piquet obviously slowed down because Senna's interval, Senna has knocked about 4 seconds off the interval behind Piquet on that last lap. There's the right rear wheel. You can see the wheel canted over.
You can certainly see it in this freeze-frame picture here. The right rear wheel has just given out. It looks like a top link has gone. That's one of the suspension links that could have given way. It could be a weld. It could be, I don't know whether it's a fabricated top link or whether it's a cast one, but certainly something in the rear suspension has gone, and that is a very disappointing fact with only 5 laps to go. It now gives Nelson Piquet that opportunity. Remember, the World Championship was being led by Nelson Piquet in any case, so this will give him a total of 48 World Championship points. This gives him one big lead. Nigel Mansell was, of course, looking to make up this discrepancy, and he really deserved this victory, as, of course, Prost deserved the victory at the last Grand Prix in Germany, and he was robbed by that.
Well, it's really a shocking, and now it's just to see whether Piquet's car holds up for the remainder of the distance here. You know, those cars are identically constructed, and what's stressed on one car is stressed on another car. You know, Mansell yesterday was his 33rd birthday, and his pole position was like a birthday present. What a letdown what happened to Nigel Mansell today.
Somebody's taking the presents back. It's certainly sad for him. Piquet, in the meantime, is progressing on with only a few laps to go here, a few laps left. There's only 3 laps. Piquet leads the Grand Prix of Hungary. 10 seconds has been robbed with only 2 laps to go from his lead by Ayrton Senna, but I have to believe Piquet is doing it cautiously.
Oh, yeah, there's only 2 laps to go, and he still has a very big margin, but Senna is pushing very hard. I guess he's not concerned about fuel. And the announcer here, the Hungarian announcer, is just going absolutely crazy. Hungarian is one of those languages that you can't even pick out any words at all except that of the driver's name. Maybe we could listen for a moment or two.
they can hear that, but in fact, Piquet seems to be in his last lap. Nelson Piquet, the information tells us he's on his last lap, and is it a very cautious last lap? He's really taking his time to give you an update. Alain Prost is still running, but with a rough-sounding engine, so he's slowing down, but keeping going, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's true, and Piquet snakes around 15-turn racetrack on the east side of Budapest, Hungary, in the 1987 Grand Prix of Hungary. It will be history in a matter of moments.
Well, we've lost our feed, the satellite picture that you should be getting from ESPN, and we have lost that. The plug has been pulled by somebody probably here in Hungary, unfortunately. We're looking down from our commentary position. The starter and the finisher is out there with his checkered flag behind his back right now, waiting for Nelson Piquet to come through. Senna's in second place. Prost is up to third place. Goodson is fourth. So there we have it. In fifth place should be Patrese, and here's the checkered flag being given to Nelson Piquet. Raises his hand. Is he a happy man? He announced he's leaving the team, and now he wins for that team. The World Championships of Constructors will benefit enormously from this victory. Now, as he drives round slowly, we're waiting for this man, Ayrton Senna, driving the Camel Lotus as he comes down to the second last corner. He's closed the gap, but of course Piquet was really monitoring that as he enters now this last and 15th corner. The other Brazilian, Brazil, first and second, an amazing feat. They've been doing this regularly now. He takes the checkered flag, so he's second. So Ayrton Senna finishes second, 7 seconds behind his own man, and then Terry Boutsen comes across the finishing line in fourth place because he was lapped, and we are now still waiting for the third place finisher. And of course the World Championship, that third place finisher is car number 1, that of Alain Prost, whose engine is running rough as an old dog right now. He's certainly not as he would have liked to be. He's not as competitive as he usually is. He could have won this race, in my opinion. He's now getting round this final part of the racetrack, second last corner, going up to this last 180-degree corner, looking for that third place. Boutsen has already crossed the finishing line to take fourth. Keep in mind that he was a lap down, so third place is his. Sixth place already across the line is Derek Warwick. Then comes Jonathan Palmer out of the championship points. Patrese, incidentally, is fifth. So let me run down the leaders for you. Nelson Piquet wins the Grand Prix of Hungary. Second is Ayrton Senna. Third is Alain Prost. Fourth is Terry Boutsen with a Ford-powered Benetton car. Fifth is Patrese. And sixth, making up World Championships, Warwick. Then comes Palmer, Cheever, Streff, Capelli, and Nannini. We'll be back for more. Okay, the Grand Prix of Hungary has been completed. A massive crowd attended to see Nelson Piquet get a surprise victory. In second place was Ayrton Senna. In third place was Alain Prost, the defending world champion. Fourth was Terry Boutsen. Fifth was Riccardo Patrese driving the BMW engine Brabham. As you look at Nelson Piquet still in his car, there's Ayrton Senna completing. Patrese then was Warwick in sixth place. ESPN's coverage of the Hungarian Grand Prix has been brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. And by BF Goodrich TA radios. They make your car perform. This is Jackie Stewart along with Martin Rees and Nigel Roebuck, who helped us here in the booth. Doug Blackman down with John Bisignano, Chris Economaki helping me in the booth. The Grand Prix has been won. Keep in mind, the next Grand Prix is that of the Grand Prix of Austria next weekend.